I'm outside today, so we're gonna have to deal with that pesky wind today. So hopefully you brought in your emotionally stable pants today, and we'll be able to focus on some of the more urgent news, at least from a charting perspective, that I can think of in the more recent memory of how this can go two different ways. I had some issues setting up this live, but the good news is I caught it when it was going to put it in vertical, and I ended it right when it was about to start, which is why there was a minor delay. But I seen on my phone that I in fact got it to go horizontal, so I'm very happy about that at least. We'll see how many people decide to show up. It might be a little bit difficult for this to be sent around because I did it like 5 separate times. But I wanted to make sure it was going to go in horizontal. Like I don't like to do it in vertical. So I'm just going to create a post real quick, and I'm just going to link this to my page so that in case YouTube didn't share it for the umpteenth time, it'll be there. But anyhow, the good news and the bad news and what we need to know. What we need to know here is that we very much have a lot of rising wedges, and I've not been shy about saying it, but we need this to not break down, okay? And if it does, it's going to do what we talked about yesterday. I drew this out for everybody so we wouldn't get surprised if it did this to start the week going into going into Easter, because I really believe we could have this inverse head and shoulders set up. I swear YouTube goes horizontal, no promo. What do you mean? I'm slow today. Can you guys still see me? Oh yeah, no notification, gotcha. It just tried to reset on me, FYI, so this should be an interesting one. Chad, welcome in. Nick, good evening. Wales, Josie, Wales, welcome in. Appreciate seeing everybody here. Tom, what the fuck is up? Yes, sir. So you guys can see me, so that's good. It's actually been about 17 weeks of rut if we want to talk, you know, in totality. But this wind is going to be bad at times, so hopefully you guys don't get mad at me. It's not that it's bad news. So hopefully you guys don't get mad at me. Okay, so it's still working. So it's not that it's bad news. It's just, I believe I've deciphered our bullish scenario if it's going to play out. But in about 7 out of 10 simulations that I run, you know, from an analytical standpoint, obviously with my own, the way I do it, it runs to the downside. And it goes anywhere between $1.75 and to that $1.95 range. But it's creating, and I would almost say that when you expand this out, we've got Easter Sunday, as yesterday was Passover, yesterday was Palm Sunday. Sorry, I don't know why my mind's in that time of the year, but yesterday was Palm Sunday, and I could see on a Sunday, April 20th, 420 nonetheless, to have Easter there. And I could see us having a consolidation leading into it, possibly. Oh, no, I got every holiday mixed up, Joseph. I don't know what the hell is going on. I told you it's been a long day. My son had his IEP for his elementary, and it's, you know, he's got a lot of people that are going to have to work with him in the school. So, like, it was an interesting couple-hour meeting. So my mind is like, phew. But a lot of support for him in that school. So we're in the right spot. It's just, it's a lot. So anyhow, but like in the 2 hour, I think we're front ran this consolidation. It's not that I want it to happen, but I don't think we can avoid it. I really don't. I think more than likely we're not going to be able to avoid this. And that's why I brought it up yesterday. Right now we're sliding below the 200-day and the 2 hour, but not terribly. It's just, I really do see something like that forming if we have that inverse head and shoulders. And then, like, the reason why this scenario plays down so many times than not is because of Bitcoin. Bitcoin doing, Jesus. Yeah, I mentioned it's windy outside, so I'm sure some of you will be mad, but hey, my son's doing his feeding after I do my stuff, and he's a little sensitive, so I didn't want to piss him off. You know what I'm saying? The odds of the upside at this point would be about 25% to go up, in my opinion. No, 30%. 30% chance to go up, 70% chance to break down, and an 85% chance to form an inverse right shoulder if it comes down. So, and this is my personal expectation. The beauty of this is we're able to front run a move on Saturday, predicting the point to 225 almost on the spot. And it's a scenario right now developing. Let me shut this fence so it's not even louder. All right, said to bend something back. There we go. All right. Now you won't have to hear the fence. I appreciate that, Nick. Yeah, I would say that I am the best father that my son could possibly have hoped for. I know I seen Joseph here. Did I see Jennifer as well? Syrian, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 6 months with the XRP Predictor and being a very trusted mod. So if it goes up to the audience, ladies and gentlemen, and Wales, Josie Wales, thank you so much for the $4.99 donation, but also for being in Tom's Army for so very long with the I Told You So Bad. So awesome. Over a year. Tanya, love, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 2 years now at the XRP 589 Moon Badge. Says, Tom, can you look at VThor, thinking it's still got pump left? VThor did have a nice move up. I noticed it was up like 50%, but then it cut down to like 36 or 30. Don't know what it was at when I was doing his IEP or anything like that. But I do know VThor was beaten up very badly. And even with its rebound, it didn't gain anything back. I mean, I'm just being honest. This thing was so beaten down. And it's going to depend on market conditions. Generally, you would say, okay, we're looking good. But when I look at market conditions, after a run up like this, I would say VThor, I mean, it's still got room left for sure if it wants to make the up case. Now, the down case would be either right here to retest this area on a breakout. I would look at that area. We've had some heavy top wicks here in the past. What else can we get out of this? Nice channel that formed here. So we broke out of a little bit of a... Ooh, well, that's okay. We definitely... I know we had this downward channel we started breaking down out of, but when you look at it like this... How could we do this? I think something like this, because it had an overzealous pullback. But if we line it up like that, I would almost be okay doing that. Just because of the way this pattern sets up from here. Like, if you watch it like this... I'm okay with this. We're in a very defined downward channel that we came out of from right there. And that's not so bad. You could even look at it a little bit differently as well. And kind of get some kind of decent... It all depends how you want to look at it. But it definitely reset back down to that 002422, which is crazy. That's a big reset that it used as a pivot layer. Nice inversion here. This is really where the big test would be. I mean, that's a big test that's coming up. But if the whole market shifts, it's going to be trouble. But this definitely, if it gets past here, let's say that, and I got a lot to talk about today in regards to XRP, so I can't be bouncing around today as much. But there's a reason why I put this is the most important update of 2025 to date. It's because of a setup that's happening right now. And it might not be the most important because of the movement today, but I promise you, based on this forthcoming movement, is going to tell us everything we need to know whether wave 5 is coming, whether or not this market is complete, or whether or not we're about to dump back down into a bear market, or if we're getting ready to set up to new highs of all times. So this is a very important moment for XRP. Now, this could bring you up to 0038, but this has to be the low would have to be in. The low has to be in. If it invalidates 00269, it's going down to 00242, and there's nothing we can do about it. So just pay attention to that if you're a fan of VThor, for sure. But we've got so much stuff to talk about. I haven't even done the intro yet. And as the DXY continues to flounder, this becomes ever more important for risk assets. Because that's a massive bear flag. I mean, massive. You guys don't understand. That is a massive bear flag. If you've been following the US dollar with me for the number of years I've been doing this, this is the moment we've been waiting for. If it breaks down, let's say it breaks down and gets a rejection right here, that drops you all the way down to 95 just from a drop out of the small zone on this bear flag. I have targets down there at 77, and I think we go even lower. I think the US dollar is going down a path that is very scary. It's very scary. And like I had a CD that I did for 2 months. I took it out. I'm not renewing it. Made a couple $100. That's it. Didn't make dick. But I'm not renewing it. I think the US dollar is going down too much. And they get a measly 3.44% is all they're offering right now. That ain't shit. So when the US dollar devalues by more, so most people say, Tom, what does it mean when it's under 100? It's not paired. So think of Tether, right? Think of USDC or RLUSD or any stable coin that's pegged to the US dollar 1-to-1. The US dollar is not even pegged to itself 1-to-1 right now. The US dollar should be at 100 at all times at minimum. Then it's equal value, 100, $1 is $1. Right now, $1 is 99.639 cents. Don't care what anybody says to me, that's the value of it right now in the USA. Imagine you go to other countries, it's even worse. So right now, your $100 bill, with inflation, when it was at 104, it was easier because your 100 was technically being valued at 104, even though you didn't know it because it's the same $100 bill. It was overappreciated, which is not a good sign either. Now it's under par. So if something was costing you more, now that same dollar is only worth, it's a big thing. Huge thing. So all this correlated is never a good sign. Initially, the team is currently running for their life. I knew they were going to shit after they canceled the airdrop. You must be talking about that shit show that happened earlier where the token dumped 90%. Was that Ondo or something? Or which one was it? While we're trying to figure that out, good evening. Mantra. 6:30 p.m., 6:31 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on this Monday, April 14th, 2025. I'm XRP Future Millionaire with the side bet on XM and Future Digibyte OG. And I reside in the great state of Michigan. Glad the dumper is dumping makes me feel like I have no fear to lose more. Hey guys, I'll play the contrarian point of view. I love the dollar dropping. Do you have any idea what mining stocks and commodities have done and precious metals over the past week and a half? Holy moly. Holy moly. I like the vibe in the intro. I love it. I love it. And some people caught my laugh on Saturday. And some asked me in comments, why didn't you laugh and let it shine through? I go, because it's a short-term laugh, my friend. You're going to have to get used to these ones. This is when I'm confident about the day, but not the end of the week. And that was a Saturday, and I was not comfortable with Sunday. So I was happy on Saturday, and then I thought it was going to 225, which it did, but that's where the fun ended because that's where I seen trouble because we started forming rising wedges. It is never good with these damn rising wedges. So why is this so important today? Why, oh why, Tom? Do you always have to come here and bring us something? Well, because I got to bring you nothing, something more than nothing. So, two things can happen here initially. One, and this keeps us above the $1.95. Just hear me out. One, we have to come down slightly, and it's not the end of the world, just slightly, right? Oh, that's XM, just slightly. And we'll have to back test this $2 range, right? Back down, back test the $2. That was the breakout. That's the back test. No harm, no foul, right? No problem. It's back to the uptrend. We back tested. We validate $2. It's okay. 2, we just soar out right now and we don't get back the 2-hour time frame. And the golden cross sits through, which I find the least likely scenario to play through. But I hope it plays through. This is the one I hope plays through the most. And that means you can technically come down to 208. Remember yesterday during the live and this morning, 208 is the first layer of defense. The next layer of defense is going to end up rolling up a little bit at $2, 2.0042. And that would allow us to maintain a inverse right shoulder and stay over that line of the pattern breakout on the uptrend part of it. When we broke down, remember, it came all the way down to structural support. Now, by this coming down and forming some kind of drop on this right side, I try to draw it out at this inverse head and shoulders if it plays out. Now, the problem with this is if it plays out until Halloween, fucking Halloween, son of a bitch, if it plays out till Easter, And I keep getting Halloween in my head because what do I always say every year? You're going to know a pump's coming when you start seeing pumpkins, but not just because the pumpkins are on the ground. You're going to see a dump during that time still when the pumpkins are out. And then after is going to be the great pump. And we've had it many years now. It's happened like that. So it always gets stuck in my head. But we need this to form as a structural support at one of these layers. At one of these layers. And if it does it into Sunday, on Easter Sunday, it would form something like this downward inverse right arm. Now, if this doesn't play out and this gets invalidated, oh boy. Then we're going down between $1.38 and $1.50. That $1.50 is the fair value gap, but that extends all the way down to a drop, possibly to $1.38 structural support down there. More of a pivot point, more of like a, if you're looking at the wick off, more of like a, I don't know if I'd call it a distribution area or a supply zone. Maybe a supply zone, because distribution I always like to see a little higher than that area, but that's okay. James, thank you so much for your $2 donation. And being in Tom's Zone for your second month with Dusty's Outhouse Crypto News. You and JW need my expertise on MXC. Good thing I have expertise there. MXC did have a good day. At one point, it was up about 40%. Now, just like VThor, we kind of got caught in the nuts here a little bit with the market, but we also had to have a consolidation. So what I generally look at when we have these wick downs like this, just like when we have a strong wick down, which is interesting because this did exactly what a couple of the other ones did at big rises. It dumped out like 15% right before and then powered out. And now it's kind of consolidating within the same range. We have a melt up and a meltdown. So this is where it gets tricky. If we would have only had this exhaustion wick to the upside, I said, okay, we'll probably fill that out. But now we have it on both directions. So the likelihood is here, we're going to have to fill out both sides of this. And that could be interesting if it comes back down. Now, we do have a golden cross in the 2-hourly. I believe that's pretty much, yeah, it's already formed now. I was going to say I seen it earlier and it was getting there. 3-hourly bounce off to 200. So two choices here. You let it keep riding as long as it stays over 183. Stays over 183, you're golden. But, you know, you're going to have to give it some wiggle room. Really? Man, is it windy out here. What you want to see is that one, like above the 00, what is that? 00195. George, so that's MXC. Just a quick, and it almost filled out that entire drop. I think it came pretty close. So, I mean, I'm not splitting hairs. We measured it from, it should have been a little higher, but we measured it from that. I mean, it pretty much filled that out. So I'm fine with that on the way down. But it's interesting. This one's going to be a tight one here. I think all of crypto is going to experience this exact same misfortune here in a way. It's just, there's so much room here. So you got the over-the-top resistance that has to break for this to reverse. And then, like, when I'm looking at this and you take out the wicks, I can very easily see where it's trying to break out right now. Like, right there. That's exactly what I'm looking at. So, is this going to break out? First layer would have to break through. Let's see. First layer would have to break through. Where the heck is my, not price range. Oh, I didn't go far enough down. I was like, what, they do switch it again on the update? Because they had another update on TradingView. So, first area is going to be to hold there. Now, I think that's pretty good right there if it held. And then the next layer to break out so that you know this resistance is finally falling. So there's some work to be done for sure. But if it formed like that, then all of a sudden you got a higher structural resistance. And then you could start bouncing up a little bit. It's still very much getting kicked in the teeth here. But it's got opportunity. You're going to have to watch very carefully when we have the flip of the clock. Another thing that just doesn't seem right is that Theta just can't get it can't catch a grip. And when Theta continues to fall, it's been leading the market. So now again, I'm watching this and I'm saying, Theta, what the hell is going on? Like, you can't cut shit. And like, I'm glad because I had a buy-in zone where if it all went to hell, we could come all the way down here. But if it does that, what does that mean for everything else? If Theta comes to 13 cents, I'm going to buy the fucking house. Something's going to get sold and something's going to get bought. because I will buy a lot of Theta if it falls. If it goes to 13 cents, like this is a mainstay, a mainframe token for Internet 2.0 and the Internet of Things. Like, and there's not a lot of Theta tokens. Like, this is a big deal that it's falling like this. 1 billion tokens it's capped at. So I mean, never did I think that I'd be talking about a possibility of Theta falling out like this. It's crazy. Oh, it is Wales, Josie Wales. It held over 62, but with this new structure built, a big thing that I like to talk about here is that structural support. What ends up happening here, if it doesn't break out, is watch this. And I used to love doing this, and I'm going to do it again. So, hey, that's all we have, but now we built up. And now what happens is you got a whole bunch of sellers built up that ended up getting in profit here on this rising channel. It dumps down. Now, it bounced down, it fell out of room, came up again. Now, is this move right here enough to power it through this next layer? So if we wouldn't have got these added buyers and it just dropped here, could it have made a V out? Could it have done something like that to power out? Maybe. But now that it made this second tier, now all of a sudden you got to measure it out like a bear flag drop. It dropped. Now are you doing the J hook? If you do a J hook here, it's not going to be as far-fetched to come down to that level that I had put out there so long ago. It's actually going to be well within range, which is scary. Because that means something dramatic has to happen here. I firmly believe that. Like, all this is telling me is something dramatic's about to happen. Like, what is it? Gold has been trying to tell us. Mining stocks have been trying to tell us some kind of world event is going to happen. And it's not going to be kind to risk assets, particularly the IoT for some reason. So what could that be? Like, if we're thinking, what could that be if this plays out? What could be so bad that the Internet of Things token get hit the hardest? And ISO will as well. Like, what would it have been? Now, could MXC, because it is an IoT token, could that be the reversal we've been waiting for on most of these tokens? I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that we can avoid that leg, and maybe this is telling us something here. I know we're at a big moment right now. We are at a huge moment right now at that first resistance. I can tell you that right now. But it's trying to tell us something. Oh, there's a bit. Oh, trust me. In time, even if this drops, I'm still very bullish on utility, on ISO and IoT. I'm just trying to find this short-term movement because it does not have to fall through. That's why I showed the scenarios. I just want to make sure that if it does, we're on point. And if it doesn't, we already know where to go. We have to break 225 and ultimately get above 229 and hold that pivot layer. That could open the door up to 265. So I'm not worried about the top side. I'm worried about making sure that everybody's on the same page here. So we're in a good spot. It's not that we're not in a good spot. It's just we're at the how about this? We're at the crossroads right now. And it's a beautiful spot to be at. It's the spot where the most opportunity is either gained or lost. Whether you can diagnose it properly or not. Oh, DGB's getting close. It's just it fell out of a rising wedge. Kind of like XLM was trying to. And if it plays through and breaks through that pivot point at 0094, it's going to give us not much of a choice but to come back down anywhere between that. And I think an over bounce would be right here. But it's probably just a wick if it's meant to just, hold this support structure. But it very well, the technical drop target right now with the way it played out is right around 0086. So we'll see. These are these little rising wedges that played out. Like, that's just a small rising wedge. EU trade chief and U.S. officials meet to negotiate new trade deal. Let me know when the jerk-off fest ends, and I'll be more interested. It's good information, but all they're doing is jerking each other off every day. I'm not even interested. All of that nonsense creates more instability, and the most instability, unstable, one of them all, or unstable is risk assets. So they're just kind of dicking around with us. So I'm not interested in a jerk-off fest with the governments, because that's all it is. They're just trying to figure out a way to feel each other out, get off on all of our money. So, you know, it's not, to me, it's boring. They're boring me now because it's too easy to predict it. It was just too easy to understand the cycle flip from risk to mining stocks and precious metals. It might maybe the easiest prediction of all times. As we've watched the instability and suffering of crypto for the last 2 months, we've seen a real building coming. Oh, I laughed my ass off, Tom. You're so right. Just like Trump and Ping have a great relationship being put. Yeah, it's crazy. Canto's loading again. I know somebody, oh man, because Canto has often been a front runner of a market reversal. What is this? What is this? Oh, Casper. But the only thing to know about Canto is, ladies and gentlemen, remember, as much as I like to watch it sometimes as a teller from the market, Canto is doing not so well lately. So just like MXC, maybe these are the starts of these big reversals, because maybe this is where it starts. You never know, because eventually these big downward channels have to end. It has to end. At some point, even the biggest downturn has to end at some point, you would think, unless it goes to zero. Swing, swing, hump. I don't know. Hump, hump. It's playing that same game, so it's going to have to eventually break that 200. Every time, 200 rejected. 200 rejected. Up to the 200. We can do this the whole way down. 200 down, 200 down, 200 down, 200 down, 200 down. Now, is this the first time when it breaks out? Who knows? But this is ridden down almost to the pits of hell now. Canto better be careful, because it's starting to come down pretty far. Now, it's good that it's over 1 cent, at least. Oh, no, it's not even back over a cent yet. But yeah, it's definitely rounding. Like this, MXC, there's a couple others I seen too. Algo had an early run, but today it's been kind of stuck. It's breaking out of this short-term resistance. I mean, it looks like the next layer up would be about 99, maybe 107. Definitely trying. I'll keep an eye on that in the future. See what happens. See if it is a telltale sign. Because MXC is definitely up 30%. Where's that point at? It's up above. Remember the melt up we talked about? It has to fill out both directions. Well, maybe not the downward, because that was just retesting a break up. But this melt up is good. This is what it needed to do. And now we're going to get to see if it's going to continue on to the 0027 level, or if we get beaten down. But that could very well be a nice W reversal there too. So call me crazy and curious, but this market is definitely intriguing. There's no doubt about that. I forgot about VELO salt roll across. Yeah, VELO was down to 0.009 a couple days ago. It's up about 30% from the bottom. It's coming out of and trying to break out of a section, but it very well could do a power move back down and try to retest the bottom side of this on the breakout. I wouldn't be surprised. It just depends if the market's going in that direction. Because when you look at a lot of these, even the ones that made these power moves out, you could see a small correction coming if it wants to back test with any strength. Even though it already came back here, it wasn't much of a push up and down. We'll see if it rides the 20 and pulls up. Next pull up would be around that 1.5. But it's in there. I am fascinated by this. 221 people here today. Wow. Call me not crazy, but call me surprised. Maybe it's the title. Maybe it's the title. So if you're new, the reason why this is the most important moment of the year is we've got to figure out with XRP beyond reasonable doubt, or beyond a reason of doubt, exactly what this is going to do and what implications this would have. So you don't want to panic initially, because it is pretty much written in here, if it comes down, that we should retest at least that first area is $2, but it could go all the way down to like that $1.85 possibly. But that would lead to an inverse head and shoulders rhyming out and pushing out around Easter. Hey, I got it right for the first time. but pushing out on Easter. If it does it sooner and we hold at $1.90, let's go, and it holds here, that could get you into next week, mid to late week. The problem is if we get into mid to late week and look like we're bouncing, I don't trust the market in the least. And I think Sunday could be interesting as the day goes on. But I wouldn't be surprised if they caught us in the you-know-what early on and we dropped like another 4.5% to start. But I seen somebody commented about Nutcoin earlier. Buy Nutcoin. You know, what's next? We'll have to buy Trojan coin and, you know, pregnancy coin. You know, maybe we should buy the little runt coin for the future. I don't know. I'm just so sick of these little meme coins. Is anybody sick of seeing what happens to all of them? They kill it, but what happens at the end, huh? They always kill it, but then 99% are left holding the bag. That's why they're rug pull central. You guys have seen enough of them do it to where I think you believe. I think you believe what can happen. Speaking of rug pull central, this thing went up 122% in a week. You know, right on time, too, after an 80% rug pull. Like, that's a big pull real quick. Maybe not a rug. Well, it is a rug pull. Then they try to get back a little bit, but now we're going to see how big of a move this was. Is this taking the stairs up or taking the elevator up and now going to start taking the stairs down, or is this going to continue this move? This is your very big layer of resistance. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. If it plays down that way to $1, there's some range in between $1.38, my friend. Even the Easter pump, if it does the inverse right arm, doesn't need to come down to $1.38 or even $1.50. That would just require it to come down to $1.85. Wales, Josie Wales, thanks for the $4.99 donation. I need to hold on, man. It's windy. I'm trying to pick my tablet up a few times. And I've noticed my goatee is so long now. Ever since I stopped cutting it, when I stopped cutting my hair, things are getting extremely long. You know, in 2 months... No, 3 months from now, it'll be 2 years since I cut my hair. My goatee is also, you know, I can see it now getting pretty long. That's getting pretty long. But I like it. It gets a little annoying, but I like it. Let's see. I never thought I'd learn to do a ponytail, but that's a skill I acquired at 40 years old. Well, now I'm 41. Guess I'm just glad to have my hair at 41. Like, I'm blessed. Like, thank you, hair, for staying. But it is getting rather long. XRP market cap. Let's see how the market cap is looking. Because the market cap was telling us something before, too. Short-term breakout. We hit that $129.29 billion. Ended up being like a resistance so far. Now, what I would expect, because how often do we break out of a structure and not back test it? So in my humble opinion, we're probably going to come to 117 billion or somewhere in that range, 115, probably somewhere like that. Here, let me put this over here. Probably somewhere like that. Assuming it wants to back test this. And I know there's a golden cross in the 2 hour, but it makes more sense for it to back test the structure breakout, unless it's going to go up one more layer and then just fall apart, which is possible. But now, let me ask you guys a question. Would you rather, if I'm being honest, would you rather it do this, bounce up here, hit this range, and then sink back down and bounce around to come out, or would you rather just back test the structure and do something like this for bullishness? I'm curious what the audience thinks. What's more bullish? Scenario 1 or scenario 2? Frankie says the second. Everyone's guessing here. XRP value by New Year. Any wild guesses? I don't like to make predictions based on price by a certain time, because this year is going to be the most difficult one to tell, because I mean, let's face it, I stopped doing that after I made my greatest prediction that can never be beaten. When we hit the bull cycle top in 21, I made a call that XRP would first drop to 52 cents before any kind of significant rebound back up. And it hit 52 cents before a significant rebound back up to like $1.18 to $1.30 range. And then I said I'd buy it sub 40. I'll see you guys in a few years. I still did the updates every day. And then we dropped sub 40 cents and we were able to buy it for a few years. But like, so for me, a prediction, I don't really want to do a prediction that, you know, I have to be so spot on, because that was a once in a lifetime because of the way it's set up. Now, this one by end of year, I mean, you've really got two choices here. By end of year there, if you take the up route, end of year, don't quote me, this is if we take the up route, you'd end up at $5 plus by the end of the year. Because you'd be sitting at that 549 range, most likely. Maybe 482, if it played out like that. Now, if it plays out in not so pretty of a formation, well, then we could end up, you know, I don't want to say it. Because in 2025, you could either be at $5 if it plays the good route, or you could be at, I don't want to say it. Do you guys want to hear the bad route if it ended up going that way, or do you just want to hear $5 by end of year? Because I don't want to say it. Well, the majestic word would be a crypto winner of all crypto winners if this fake breaks down. So there's three numbers that stand tall to me. Fair value gap at 92 cents that I can't not unsee. There's one slightly farther down in the mid 50-cent range that I know nobody wants to hear about. And then there's one that has stood the test of time for eons and eons and eons and eons. And it has stood the test of time, and it is down around the 2-cent mark, okay? And I want to talk about it. But you had this. You had a rather substantial breakout. But once you cleared this back test on the push, you have never actually up, down, and we could say that, but did we come down? Maybe. But once you come up here and start doing this, there's a few of them that you would have to start looking back deeper. Now, I don't want to go too much into that, because that 2-cent drop would be the absolute worst case scenario and catastrophic. And that would be if XRP broke down out of this. And I still see it. It's an extended broadening wedge until it's not. And I know we can draw it a bunch of different ways to make us feel better. But at the end of the day, that is still a broadening wedge. So we just don't want this to break down at any cost. But I would say, worst case scenario, you reset and fall through. But by New Year's, the most likely scenario, you'd have two of them. You'd retest that gap at either 92 or 50 cent plus, or we're taking the upward trajectory and we're going to be at that cycle target at maximum capacity, just over $5. So $5 or 5 cents. I mean, it's so crazy to say that, but there's two completely. I wouldn't go with 5 cents. So I would say more likely 92. But once you start breaking that gap, then you got it down in the 50s, and then all bets could be off. But Nick knows, because there's one on Ethereum as well, and it sits under $100, that gap. So it's not so cut and dry of, oh, we're all experts here and we can make it go to this price because of our analysis. Well, if we go just by the analysis, about 7 out of 10 times we might be getting kicked in the nuts. But that's just honest. That's honest. I'd rather know before it happens so that I can see when something's going wrong. And right now is our opportunity. That's why I kept saying for a week, this is our one chance to avoid all the nonsense. And right now, coming down does not start the nonsense. This can validate us not having to go into nonsense. So if you're asking me a trading range we have to stay in, and I'll do this a little strategic here, okay? So we would need to do, what would the best way to do this be so you guys can understand? We need to stay, okay, Now, if we do the structural pattern, how far can we go? Somewhere around here. So we would have to stay within a bar. Ooh. That's your range. So if we're range bound, that's your range right there. We've got a 13. That's it. It's not bigger. How can it be so... Okay, we have a 14% range. That is pretty small, if I'm being honest. Because now you draw this through the range. Man, that is so small. Why is the range so small? I dare say it could go farther, because if we went to the bottom side here... Here, I'm going to make it to where we have more range, and this might not be appropriate. But we're going to range bound this to our last possible... That's better. I can live with that. You know why? You know why I can live with that? Because we're going to have a range. If it has this inverse right arm, to where it kind of plays something like this. And then that would be your range for that. You guys see what I'm doing? We're trying to set this up for the future if it falls through. So I always say you have to have foresight in crypto. Well, now even if this doesn't happen, you've got the foresight of knowing left shoulder, down to an inverse head, up, and then if it comes back in here, you know it's creating a shoulder, especially if it comes out. So that's why I like to draw these out early. So now if it comes down below or back above, you know the more bullish scenario. If it stays above, we're bouncing quicker. If it bounces down, we've got about a 21% range from the swing high on this move. Jacoby, thank you so much for re-upping in Tom's Army for 4 months now. It says, keep up the good work, Tom. You betcha. I have to now. You're back in Tom's Army for a 4th month. I take that serious. And I really appreciate it. I do. I really appreciate that. And it's 4 months with the emoji badge. That's the XRP Meteor. I love it. That's actually an XRP token with flame around it, ironically. But yeah, that's the way I would look at this. So you see the urgency of this live. For 182 of you have stuck it out. I'm not surprised 27 people left when I gave the in-depth analysis. But Nick, that's because they're only popular when they're pumping. I found that out the hard way with most of these. Most of our audience that talks about something, it's when it's the next big thing. But then when it's actually the time to talk about, nobody cares. You know, for the most part. So we've got a nice range here. So no, yeah, I get that. Whales. Let me be honest. Most times, and there's obviously an exception to every rule. Most times, the reason they offer such big staking rewards, let's say they offer 70%, you can almost assure yourself over that time period, it's going to drop 70% in most cases. Like if you do the history and you actually look at the written data, I think you're right, Wales, because I read the way you put it and I thought you were going to say about the drop. So yes, I understand that it was miswritten. You meant to write it the way I said it is what I feel like. Correct me if I'm wrong. Did you mean to write it the way I just said it? Good. Thank you. Because that's what I thought you were going at. Okay, so I'm just building off your point. So the more that a token has rewards, and trust me, there's people that have learned this the hard way like I did in the past. You'll see, oh, it's offering 50%. That's crazy. Let me just lock it up for 3 months. 3 months later, you're down 75%. Ooh, big fucking deal. I got a 30% reward. I'm still down 75%. Or a 50% reward on what? 75% loss? Big deal. You know, and that's generally the way they get you. So then they end up paying you your staking reward out of your money you lost. I'm just being honest. So I feel like they might have a whole big setup where they see how many people stake, and then they base it on how much the token has to drop before said staking period ends, and then they pay people with their own losses as staking rewards. I believe it's 0 lockup period for XCN on staking. Ah, that's the one I was thinking too. Capybara had some crazy, somebody said it was like 75% one day, and I'm like, uh-oh. That could, And it started off initially up, but they had to lock it for 3 months. Corium is paying 42% and it's tripled. Yeah, right now it has tripled. No doubt about it. Let's see where it's at the end of 25. Every single time Corium's ever went up, it falls back below 10 cents. So we'll see if it can hold it this time. Hey, I didn't say that there's no exception to the rule. I just said generally. Corium's not a piece of shit, though. Corium's a firm ISO token on the XRP ledger. But yet, there's a reason they're able to pay so many rewards. So at the end of the day, it has to come from somewhere. Remember, there's no dividend being paid. There's no revenue being made in general, like a regular company. So, no, Shane. Wales isn't saying it's not a good token. I'm saying it's probably a pile of shit because XCN's turned nothing more but a pump and dump token based on certain streamers' fortes, whether they have a good or bad hard on or erection or soft for it on that day. That's what I'm saying. I don't like to be in ones like that. But I know JW's watching and saying, Tom, you can't be talking like this too much. You're going to get yourself kicked off. So I hear you, JW. I'm going to pull back. So if you want to do good in crypto, just buy whatever I don't buy and stay the hell away from what I get. I would like to think it's not you, Edgar, that has bad luck. I'd like to think your timing's just off. It's not your luck. It's just inexperience. How about that? With all great inexperience, if you try hard enough and you pay close enough attention, will become experience. See, all this bad luck and misfortune is actually gaining you experience. I went through it in other markets. I try, Nick. I try. Well, I do say a lot more rambunctious things in the Telegram. That's for sure. I'm not afraid to let it fly in there, in my comments. Nah, James, I mean, it's not that you're cooked at 226. I'd never say you're cooked because eventually we're going to go back above there. It's just if we take the downward route, you're going to have to watch it to $1.80. Like, that's the thing. Like, everybody still needs to realize we still have a head and shoulders pattern that we've technically not flipped right side up yet. So, dude, was that a poo-poos? Is he in his room? How did he look after? Tired? Let's see. But I don't think you're cooked by any stretch of the imagination. I think in time XRP is going to be a plus $10 asset. So I don't think you're cooked at all. Your timing might have been a little, interesting. But it's better than $3.40. It's better than $3. It's better than $2.75. Kryptonian, welcome in, and thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 1 year with the I Told You So badge. A lot of people in here today. I love it. We got about 185 people. Oh, and while I'm still here, make sure you're looking, and it's in the video description below and our pinned comments. It's on the pinned comments of this very live. Make sure, well, now that I have this page open, I guess I can show you exactly where it's at. Yeah, see, it's on here pinned. It's BITUNIX. Now, you can even go to my homepage and click on this on YouTube. They have the lowest spot and leverage trading fees, and I usually forget, so I've been trying to mention it more and more. They have the lowest maker-taker fee, no KYC or VPN worldwide. And the reason why I like it is I can go to BITUNIX. I could send anything from anywhere as long as they have it, and I'm not paying the fee, so I can swing trade. I can leverage trade without having to worry about extraordinary fees. But I like the spot trade and be able to swing a few $1,000s, and let's say I make 10%, make a couple $100. I don't want to have to give back 70% of that in fees. And like crypto.com's a big stinker about that, and so is Uphold and a lot of them. But I have crypto.com for DGB. But aside from that, I'm buying from BITUNIX to send it somewhere else so I don't have to pay the fees or sell it. Like, if you've never experienced that, the first time I ever had that happen where I didn't get the crazy fees, I'm like, what the hell? Like, what? And I felt like such an idiot for so long trading on the high fees. And literally, I seen the light of day last year for the most part. I did in 23 as well, but last year was the big, when I found that in about February of last year, BITUNIX, and it changed everything. So remember. But as we wind down here, it's been a long day. This has been 50 minutes so far. I've got about 10 minutes left. I want to look at two things in particular. One, the XRP Bitcoin pairing, And two, we'll go through a rundown real quick of the precious metals and just see the pricing for the day and see the US dollar currency index so we can see what's going on. Algo is a great opportunity, especially on the meltdown that it's been having. I have 34,000 algo, and I'm all for it. Even if it goes farther down, I'm not looking to sell algo. I'm just going to pile in more. It hasn't done much of anything as far as where my goals are. And on this part right now, I'm not worried about it coming up or down. I'm watching it. I'm very transparent with it, but yeah, see, my biggest problem here too with the XRP Bitcoin pairing is it never back tested that massive breakout, and it's always bothered me. So I don't know what's going to happen here, if we could possibly ride out of here, but what do I usually teach? You always back test a big structural setup, typically. It's not 100%, but 95% of the time, you eventually come back and meet your destiny. Now, maybe not right here because we're on a golden cross in the weekly, and that is good news. So do I see that big of a drop? Maybe not. Maybe we're in the clear and we're going to go to the top side first. But that's a rather substantial setup in the weekly. Like, if you're asking me what's a good setup, that a weekly golden cross back testing it, as long as it doesn't break through as the wick pulled up again, that's a beautiful start to the week. Hey, Nick, my biggest issue, how about this? I have a big issue. I'm almost to the standpoint now of, why do I even hold crypto? Why don't I just wait until it looks like a big breakout's about to happen and start accumulating that zone, and then just spot trade it the whole way across instead of just holding on for 6 months at a time? You know, and every time it gets into greed and it looks like a pattern end, like on Saturday, I asked myself, well, you knew it was going to 225, and then you had the understanding that probably at a 75% clip it was going to get rejected. Why not just sell that rejection and then buy it back at $1.95 or $1.80 and just rinse and repeat? We'd make so much more money, but you have to have the experience. We have it as a community. You know, you just don't want to get caught with your pants down. So I probably wouldn't do it with XRP, but I've got side funds that would go elsewhere. XRP right now, to me, with that golden, I'm telling you right now, don't sleep on XRP, even if the market has rising wedges. Well, until it gets adopted, no buenos. That's why you'll know when it's about to get to be adopted, because you're going to have a massive collapse. Don't you guys see what happens? Whenever we get good news, what precedes it? A 40 to 50% drop overall from the swing top. It happens every time without exception. Look when they announced that Brad Garlinghouse came out and said that the SEC was willing to drop the case. That came out after it dropped 30% already. You know, and then it came back out, and it looked like we had a massive pump, and now we're low. It's right back into the same range. So you're right about that, though. There's going to be a pump, but generally what alerts me to news coming is the big drop that starts happening for no reason. Remember in gold and silver, and I said, oh, this has got to be good. It dropped under 3,000. Mining stocks were just getting vanquished, for lack of a better word. And now what happened? We said it then and we'll say it again. The gold market and mining market is telling us something different than what we're being told by Jerome Powell, by the president, by the, you know, it's all of it. The FOMC, all that crap they're telling us, it's not true. Gold and silver never goes parabolic unless there's some kind of world event going on that's not good for the U.S., you know, for the U.S. dollar. So it's something's going on here. Edgar, have a good night, my friend. I'm blessed that you spent the night here with me. I know Julie's waiting for me. I just want to go over this last section for the last 6 minutes, Julie. T shaking head? Is he really? So he was tired. Sure. And he's had a long week, long weeks, long months and years of his life. Let's see. Okay. So, and this makes it interesting for the U.S. If this dollar, and I'm not going to lie, we have been all over the dollar I've been over it for a decade roughly. Even before I got into trading like certain sectors, I was into the dollar because that's the one thing I could understand big time. I've been following this rising channel for a very long freaking time. And I think we may have topped out now. And if we lose this area, we are in some kind of trouble in the USA. Now, Trump ran on saying he wants to devalue the US dollar. So that's not a surprise. It's idiotic, but it's not a surprise. Like, and for the citizens to be cheering as they slash our dollar value is idiotic because 99% of the people I know don't own gold or silver. So they're morons. If you're rooting for the dollar to be cut, you better own precious metals. You've got one chance at store of value, and it's not crypto. If you want to have some kind of value with your dollar, and some people are, oh, I can't turn in my dollar. What am I going to do with my dollar at the end of the world? I'm not talking about the end of the world, jackasses. I'm talking about the here and now. I want to maintain my value. Like, I hate when people play the devil's advocate and say, oh, what about the end of the world? Well, at the end of the world, geniuses, I can't take my crypto with me because I can't log on to a freaking computer. So that's void, anyhow. You know, so if we ain't got skills in the end of the world, what the hell does it matter what we have? If we can't grow our own food, have our own water, do what we need to do, it's not going to matter what you carry if you don't have the life skills. So this is for a non-power grid failure, non-end of the world scenario, just the end of the USA scenario as a power. That's all. That's all this is. That's all this is. This isn't about having some better plan than somebody else. This is about store of value. That is it. That's it. Well, that's true. You can trade it without a computer, XRP, but not without electricity, like you said at the end. That's the problem. Jessica, well, I know you've been here, but thanks for being in Tom's Army for over 3 years, love. And having the XRP Diamond Hands badge. Beautiful. Jessica's been in here since, I want to say, the very beginning. I can't think of many other people that were here when I first seen Jessica. Jessica Garcia. Who would have thought? Who would have thought? It makes me so proud to see some of the ladies who have stuck it out with me through all these years. It's crazy. Love it. Look at First Majestic, 666. Like, could you have stopped at any better number than that, huh? But I think these are still going to do some tremendous things. These mining stocks. I can, let's see. Darren, I've owned silver, been collecting since you said it was a good plan. And Darren, doesn't it feel good now? And Darren's been here for a long time. He's been in Tom's Army for well over a year with the I Told You So badge. I actually think right now, but yeah, I mean, I'm blessed with the ones in the audience that took hold, not just of crypto, but the ones who listened to me when gold was at 1,600, even though they might have been begrudgingly because they never traded it before, bought a precious metal, or when silver was at 16, 17, 18, 20, 22, 25 even. So, and I think that's a great plan. I was actually going to say about silver defined, about maybe, it's an opportunity there, especially with the ratio so high. But silver is definitely undervalued big time still. And it's finishing off a short-term move, but we don't even need to see this. We already can tell what that is. But the moment we break out of here, if we can, I don't want to, because this is on a cup and handle now. Like, it's forming this handle. As long as this breaks up, we're going to be eyeing that 39, well, 34, 39, and then 50. But we'll continue to talk about this later. But I'm going to go with Julie. I know she wants me to come inside. She's been very patient for the last hour. Have a blessed evening, everybody. We'll continue this discussion later. I'm going to try to do a short in a little bit, too. I want to do a short before the night's over because I didn't get to do one earlier. But I still want to do one so that we can have a little bit more understanding. So I'm going to go deal with the family. Have a blessed day, and it's a good thing. Don't forget to give thanks to the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. Stay humble. Show humility. Remember, if you're in this community, we're helpful, not hurtful. Kind, not rude. Positive, not negative. And I brought a lot of positivity and vibrant energy today. But we also want to be helpful to each other. Like, my number one thing for all of us is just be kind. Share that love. We have enough evil in the world. And we can literally get so far ahead if we do it together. So be blessed.